Chapter 7. Emotional Armor. Strengthening emotional intelligence to resist manipulation. How self-awareness, emotional regulation, and assertiveness serve as protection against manipulation. Emotional intelligence, EI, plays a crucial role in defending oneself against manipulation. Manipulators are often adept at exploiting emotional vulnerabilities, using guilt, fear, or confusion to control their victims. However, individuals who possess high emotional intelligence are better equipped to recognize these manipulative behaviors, manage their own emotions, and respond in a way that maintains their autonomy and sense of self. This chapter focuses on how individuals can strengthen their emotional intelligence to protect themselves from manipulation and regain control over their emotional well-being. What is emotional intelligence? At its core, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions, as well as the emotions of others. People with high EI are able to navigate complex emotional landscapes, both within themselves and in their interactions with others. They are more aware of their emotional triggers and can control how they react to those triggers, which is particularly useful in situations of manipulation. Manipulative individuals rely on causing emotional chaos to destabilize their targets. They often use tactics such as guilt-tripping, gaslighting, and emotional withdrawal to keep their victims in a constant state of emotional flux, making it easier to control their actions. Developing emotional intelligence allows individuals to maintain control in these situations, recognize manipulative tactics, and protect their emotional boundaries. Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence Framework, Understanding the Key Components. Daniel Goleman, a psychologist and author of Emotional Intelligence, identified 5 key components of EI that are essential for building resilience against manipulation. These components are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. While all 5 components contribute to emotional well-being, we will focus on how 3 specific components, self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy, help individuals resist manipulation. 1. Self-awareness. Understanding your emotions and triggers. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It involves being in tune with your own emotions, understanding how they influence your thoughts and behavior, and recognizing when they are being exploited. This component allows individuals to gain clarity about their emotional reactions and recognize the patterns that manipulators may try to exploit. For example, someone who is self-aware may notice when they feel anxious or guilty in response to another person's behavior. These emotional responses could signal that the manipulator is trying to provoke an emotional reaction, such as using guilt or fear to control the victim's actions. Self-awareness allows the victim to pause, reflect on their emotions, and assess whether their feelings are being manipulated. Self-awareness also extends to recognizing the signs of emotional exhaustion or stress, which are often indicators of emotional manipulation. By becoming aware of these emotional cues, individuals can take proactive steps to care for their emotional well-being and avoid falling into the manipulator's trap. 2. Self-regulation. Managing your emotional responses. The ability to regulate one's emotions is crucial in resisting manipulation. Manipulators often seek to provoke emotional reactions such as anger, guilt, or fear, as these emotions can cloud judgment and make individuals more susceptible to manipulation. By mastering self-regulation, individuals can avoid reacting impulsively and instead respond thoughtfully and deliberately. Self-regulation involves taking a step back and controlling emotional impulses. For example, if a manipulator uses guilt-tripping to make you feel responsible for their problems, self-regulation allows you to recognize the emotional trigger guilt and choose not to react in a way that gives the manipulator power over you. By practicing self-regulation, individuals can maintain emotional control in the face of manipulative behaviors, preventing the manipulator from gaining leverage. 3. Empathy. Balancing compassion and healthy boundaries. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. While empathy is often seen as a strength, it can become a vulnerability in manipulative situations. Manipulators may exploit an individual's empathy by playing on their emotions, creating a sense of obligation or guilt. For example, a manipulative person may portray themselves as a victim, seeking sympathy and emotional support to manipulate the victim into compliance. However, emotional intelligence allows individuals to balance empathy with healthy boundaries. Developing empathy with boundaries means recognizing and caring for the emotional needs of others without sacrificing your own emotional health. This balance is key to preventing emotional exploitation. A person with high EI can listen with compassion to a friend's distress while also setting boundaries to protect their emotional well-being. For instance, they might say, "I understand that you're upset, but I cannot take responsibility for your actions." This ability to empathize while maintaining boundaries ensures that individuals are not drained by others' emotional manipulation. Real-world case study: Rachel's journey to emotional resilience. Consider the case of Rachel, a woman who worked in a high-pressure corporate environment where her manager frequently used emotional manipulation to control her. Rachel's manager would often use guilt to pressure her into working late hours or taking on extra tasks. At first, Rachel felt obligated to comply, believing that her manager's requests were reasonable and that she was somehow responsible for meeting their emotional needs. However, Rachel began to recognize that her manager's behavior was manipulative. By developing self-awareness, she started to notice the emotional patterns at play, how she felt anxious or guilty when she tried to set limits, and how her manager would escalate these feelings to get what they wanted. Rachel took proactive steps to develop her emotional intelligence. She began practicing self-regulation by pausing before reacting to her manager's demands. Instead of immediately agreeing or feeling guilty, she would take a deep breath, assess the situation, and decide how best to respond. She also practiced mindfulness to stay grounded and present, which helped her avoid becoming overwhelmed by her emotions. Rachel also worked on her assertiveness. She took assertiveness training, learning how to communicate her feelings and needs directly without aggression or passivity. Instead of agreeing to unreasonable requests, she learned to say things like, "I cannot stay late tonight because I have prior commitments," and to stick to those boundaries confidently. As a result of these efforts, Rachel regained her autonomy and was able to set firmer boundaries with her manager. She no longer felt manipulated or emotionally drained by their tactics. By strengthening her emotional intelligence, she successfully defended herself against manipulation, improving her overall emotional well-being and sense of control in her work environment. Practical takeaways: techniques to develop emotional intelligence and assert boundaries. Developing emotional intelligence takes time and practice, but it is one of the most powerful tools for resisting manipulation. Below are several practical exercises designed to help individuals build self-awareness, regulate their emotions, and set healthy boundaries. 1. Journaling for self-awareness. Journaling is a powerful exercise for increasing self-awareness. Writing about emotional reactions to daily situations can help individuals identify patterns in how they respond to triggers, including manipulative behaviors. By reflecting on your emotional responses, you can begin to understand how your emotions influence your thoughts and actions, and where manipulative tactics might be at play. For example, after a conversation where you feel manipulated, you might journal about the emotions you experienced, e.g., guilt, frustration, and what triggered those emotions. This can help you identify whether the manipulator's behavior was designed to provoke those feelings and give you clarity about how to respond in the future. 2. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is a key technique for improving self-regulation. It teaches individuals to observe their thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing them to gain emotional distance from challenging situations. Regular mindfulness practice helps individuals remain calm and collected when faced with manipulative behaviors, making it easier to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting emotionally. Simple mindfulness practices, such as focusing on your breath or practicing deep breathing exercises, can help you stay grounded and connected to your own sense of self, even in the midst of emotional manipulation. 3. Assertiveness training. Assertiveness is an essential component of emotional intelligence, especially when it comes to setting boundaries with manipulators. Assertiveness training teaches individuals how to communicate their feelings and needs directly and respectfully, without being aggressive or passive. This skill is crucial for maintaining control over your emotions and preventing manipulation. For example, practicing assertive communication might involve saying, "I need some time to think about your request before I can give an answer," or "I'm not comfortable with that behavior, and I need it to stop." The more you practice assertiveness, the easier it becomes to communicate your boundaries confidently. For empathy with boundaries. To avoid being emotionally exploited, it's essential to practice empathy with boundaries. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everything the other person says or taking on their emotions as your own. Instead, it involves listening with compassion while also recognizing that you have a right to protect your own emotional space. A helpful exercise is to practice active listening in conversations, focusing on understanding the other person's feelings without immediately reacting or trying to fix their emotions. After listening, you can set boundaries by saying things like, "I hear that you're upset, but I can't be responsible for solving this for you." 5. Cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing is a technique that involves changing your perspective on a situation to gain a more objective view. When someone tries to manipulate you emotionally, cognitive reframing helps you remind yourself that their behavior is a reflection of their needs and desires, not a reflection of your worth. For instance, if someone uses guilt to manipulate you, you can reframe the situation by reminding yourself that their needs are not your responsibility. This shift in perspective can break the manipulator's emotional hold over you. Conclusion: building emotional armor against manipulation. Emotional intelligence provides a powerful defense against manipulation by enabling individuals to recognize and regulate their emotions, set healthy boundaries, and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. By cultivating self-awareness, self-regulation. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Also, drop a comment below to share your thoughts or experiences. We look forward to hearing your opinions for a deeper discussion.